another way to name these puppies, which is by the number of terms. Okay? If you have one term, it's called a monomial. Okay? It's kind of like those cool eyeglasses. Remember a long time ago they'd have a monocle? That one little glass in your eyeball? Yeah. Okay, so that's a monomial. What's an example of a monomial? 2 is a monomial. X is a monomial. Negative 6x to the 5th is a monomial. Those are all monomials. It's just how many terms. Remember how we talked about a term?
Yeah.
Okay? So far, so good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's say we had 2 terms. I don't want to ride a unicycle. I want to ride a...
Tricycle?
I do want to ride a tricycle, but that's not going to work for me for 2 terms. So we're going to go with bicycle.
All right.
Or binomial. Binomial. All right, an example of a binomial would be like 2x plus 5. Or x squared minus 9. Or x to the 6th minus x. It's all about the number of terms, okay? 2 terms, 2 terms, 2 terms. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what kind of binomial would this be? What degree is it?
First degree.
A first degree binomial or a linear binomial. This would be a
second degree.
Or a
Quadratic
binomial. Okay? And this would be a
6th degree binomial.
6th degree binomial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You have just classified everything. Okay? Almost. Number of terms, 3rd. This gets easier. Okay? 3rd degree. It's the thing I wanted to ride.
Trinomial? I mean tricycle.
Tricycle, but we're going with trinomial.
All right.
Okay. All right. A trinomial has 3 terms. So you're looking at x squared plus x plus 1. Now what you can't have, you can't say x squared plus x squared plus x squared is a trinomial. Why not?
Just that's 3x squared.
Because they're all x squares, right? And what that really is 3x squared.
That's not
Okay.
simplified enough.
That doesn't work. That's a big Right, so the simplified form is what you're looking at when you're calling it a nomial.
Mm-hmm.
Nomial, name.
Or no. Or gnome.
Gnome? A gnome. Okay, so this is not a 3rd degree, but this is. Okay, they all have to have different degrees. So let's look at negative 6x cubed plus x minus 1. That's a good one. That is a trinomial. What kind of trinomial is it?
3rd degree, so it would be a cubic.
Cubic trinomial. This would be a
quadratic.
trinomial. Ta-da! Okay. You don't have the number 4 there, but I'm going to tell you 4. Okay, you're just making this up as you go along. Thank you. Anything over 3 is called polynomial. But this is when it gets a little confusing. Because anything can be referred to as a polynomial. An example of a polynomial would be just an x. It doesn't have to have more than 3 terms to be considered a polynomial. It's just in the family of polynomials.
Then why don't you call it a monomial?
I would call it a monomial, but it is a polynomial. That's why it gets confusing. But if you have more than 3 terms in it, you don't call it a 4th nomial or a 5th nomial or whatever nomial. You just call them all polynomials.
So if it's a 1 term and you don't want to be specific, you'd call it a polynomial. If you were trying to be more specific,
you'd call it a monomial. And in this case, I'd call it a linear monomial.
But once you get to 4 terms or higher,
It's
you
polynomial.
can't be any more specific than just a polynomial?
Okay. So when I was teaching back in Texas, I had this little guy who was like an artist, and I had him draw me a little mailbox with the name Polly on it, and a little girl frowning, and it said Polynomial. Yeah, I thought that was excellent.
That's awesome.
So we had to classify her and name her.